Hello everyone, SirMonkeySuit is up here, back again with Fate Zero. We are on episode 3 of season 1, and in the last episode, so Kirie already betraying Tosaka, or Tokiomi, whatever, I believe that's his first name, right, Tokiomi? Yeah. Already betraying him, sent his assassin, Hassan, after him, and there was a cool little scene there towards the end, but got absolutely annihilated straight away, straight off the bat. Someone pointed out as well, like the sort of some information regarding all of the different servants and whatnot. And when it comes to the assassin, he is quite possibly like the weakest of the lot, but he's obviously the most sneaky, and his sort of style is to go after the masters as opposed to coming up against servants. So I imagine any time if it's one-on-one with the assassin, I'd imagine the assassin's going to lose every time. So yeah, there's that. We also got information about a lot of the other servants as well. The rider, who is Alexander the Great. I like him. He's cool. He's a bit of a funny character. And Waver as well, wanting to be treated fairly. We're not too sure if that is his actual main goal. I mean, we know that is kind of what he wants, but we don't know if that is the real key thing that he's looking for by getting the Holy Grail, by making that sort of wish. So yeah, we've got information that there's only 3 command spells allowed to fully order a servant. If all of those go, they are free to do whatever they want and go rogue. So that's interesting. Yep, got some information from with Saber, and possibly Emiya as well during that conversation, and maybe we've got a little taster of what Emiya actually is like, and how Saber's sort of like, or how King Arthur's story might relate to Emiya in some way. So there is that, and we got introduced to the last master, which is Uryu Ryunosuke, who is a serial killer, and his hero is just as much of a serial killer. So they're a great match. And yeah, that is it. So I think we will get into episode 3. Hopefully we get some Kirie this episode, because like I've said before, he's the character I'm rooting for, so it'll be interesting to see where his story ends up. And yeah, so that is all. So let's get into episode 3. Okay, episode 3. Again, just this show gives me just such an intrigued feeling. Like there's something so different. Like it just feels so different, which I love. I love shows that do that. You know what I mean? Because I feel like, especially when you watch so many, I don't know how many fucking anime I've watched. It's over 200. I know that. I don't know if it's reaching 300, but I've watched over 200 anime. And when you watch that amount, it doesn't take long for you to realise, a lot of them just end up have the same feeling, some of them just end up being extremely average, and you end up just, forgetting them, and they're just, sort of, you know what I mean? I've actually went and watched, the same anime again, and then didn't realise until after I'd watched it again. It was during a time when I was watching just anime, right? I would go through a series, and then I would stop, bring up a new one, and it would just continue, right, for ages. That's where I watched most of the anime that I've ever watched before, and it was just in one, it was it just continuously all the time, right? So you have to forgive me for not realizing, but honestly, it was just so mundane. But I have an issue normally when once I start watching a show, I have to watch till the end. It's very rare I end up just completely dropping a show, but yeah, this show it gives me I'm just so interested in everything that's happening. It's great. You know what I mean? There's not one part of this show yet that I've sat here and been like, don't care about that. Every scene I'm interested in. It's great. That may be just due to the fact that it's only episode 3, and this is the first, obviously, like show in this franchise that I've seen, so I'm getting introduced to the world and the world building and the details and stuff, which is always interesting. I feel like, you know, it's a big part of it. So it's just a question of whether it just can continue on, and honestly I hope it does, because honestly I'm loving it so far. So yeah, so from the very get-go, Archer is Gilgamesh. Now I am going to look that guy up because I recognize the name. I don't know what he was famous for though. Gilgamesh. Sumerian city of Uruk. A major hero in ancient Mesopotamian? I've never heard of that before. So he's Sumerian then. Huh. Yeah, I mean, when they said Gilgamesh, I was like, that doesn't really that doesn't really fit with what I saw in the ending. So the ending has like images of those heroes like living back in their time, right? And it looks like it's very like, it looks like Egyptian. Now, yeah, Sumerian city-state of Uruk. Where is Uruk? Uruk was an ancient city of Sumer. Yeah. So it's like in Iraq-ish. I mean, it's close-ish, isn't it? To Egypt. It's not far off. And I mean, during that period as well, I mean, I don't know where everything... Well, I'm not a fucking historian, so I don't know. But there was a time when Egypt was an incredibly vast... like nation, right? It was huge. Yeah, so interesting, some interesting stuff here. Basically, like, you know, interesting how his character in the show seemingly has a sort of wanting treasures and stuff, whereas here, I mean, well, there's different sort of stories here. There's one basically saying on older source material, in which Gilgamesh is actually a demigod, of superhuman strength. And like, you know, it goes on, and you know, he wants to end up. He's a survivor of the Great Flood. That's like what the biggest fact. Yeah, the biggest fact we've got going on here, the Great Flood. But he's actually hoping to find immortality. Sorry. So yeah, I wonder if they'll bring that up in the show at some point. But yeah. Interesting. Okay. And they also said that he actually has the highest chance to go independent or go rogue. So I'm guessing if like they're not going to just, you know, throw that detail out there if that is not going to come to fruition in some kind of way. Like, I mean, you could kind of, you know, gauge just by the way he was kind of acting that, like, you know, that if it ever came to a point, I don't know, if he really learned like the true power of the Holy Grail or whatnot, that he would possibly go out on his own. It's definitely it's definitely not good, is it? It's not good having that guy like as a servant. He has 3 thingies though. He does have 3 orders he can give it. So it's all right. I'm sure he can deal with it, but I'm sure there will be a time like there'll come a point where he's gonna have to, like, you know, basically like he's gonna have to basically fight his own battle of trying to keep Gilgamesh, like, you know, working with him. So the whole thing from last episode was staged. The whole Kyrie betrayal thing was staged because people were looking in. It never crossed my mind because I was thinking, well, first of all, I didn't realise until after episode 2 that that Waver was in Japan. Like, I didn't know he was in Japan. I knew obviously he'd left England, but I didn't know where he was. The thing that was confusing was when in episode 2, when Alexander had the book, right, the map, and he was asking like, oh, where was Macedonia and Persia and whatnot, and he said, where are we? the map was upside down, like the world was upside down, and I had, you know, I didn't, yeah, it didn't click for me. So my thinking was, like, you know, I didn't know that that was where Wave actually was. And now that they're all, like, you know, they're all heading there to Japan, Emiya and whatnot's there, Waver's there, Tokiyumi's obviously there, and Kira's there. So, I'm guessing, yeah, Kariya will be there as well, because he's obviously around that area, isn't he? Uryu, he's got to be there as well. He has a Japanese name. I'm guessing he's in Japan. And Kenneth. Now I'm guessing Kenneth's there as well. He might not be. I mean, I'm guessing he is. He's just in hiding somewhere around in Japan. He's not like out in the other country. He just sent his fucking servant. Because I'm guessing that the Lancer guy is Kenneth's servant. Because I don't know who else it would be. Just judging by the way that the Lancer guy was talking, the only other servant that we don't know anything about is Kariya's, and Kariya's is supposedly got mayhem as sort of like a key factor in it, which makes me think, well, it must be the Berserker then, because they were talking about how the Berserker is sort of like in a realm of its own, like a class of its own kind of thing, whereas, like, you know, you've got, like, I mean, yeah, I guess you can look at the caster and be like, well, yeah, he's like clearly just like the straight up magic user as opposed to everyone else. I mean, they're all using magic though, aren't they? So, yeah, I mean, I can only determine that, you know, the reason why they stated that the Berserker was one that would, like, you know, it was that was mad and insane. That's the servant that Kariya has been given. So the Lancer, there's only one person left, and it's got to be Kenneth, right? So I mean, I've got to be honest. Out of a lot of them, Kenneth is the most uninteresting one to me. Like, I don't see any, you know what I mean? But then again, that's because he hasn't had any time. Like, he hasn't had any screen time. Everyone else has gotten like a story surrounding them. The only thing we've been told about Kenneth is that he was a teacher and he was a dick for like the 5 minutes, not even that, 2 minutes that we saw him. So what I am interested in is how he came about with this one, whoever this Lancer guy is, because he seems like a noble guy. Just the way that he was talking about, like, how about, you know, like, in this situation, because we've been sort of summoned, I don't know, it's a bit confusing, because I'm not sure if they kind of, if they recognize where they're from and who they are, right? But so they can talk about, like, their past and whatnot, but they don't, like, how can I explain this? They don't sort of, they don't recognize, like, they don't act like, you know, like Saber, for example, right? She's not going around going, you know, I am King Arthur, I am the servant of what, right? They see themselves as, no, I'm Saber, that's what it is, right? So they refer to themselves as Saber. They don't refer to themselves as King Arthur. They talk about it and whatnot, because that's the kind of the hero that has come back to embody that person or that servant, right? But you know, it's kind of, so when Lancer was saying, like, oh, in this situation we can't exchange names and whatever, because the sort of, you know, the who they actually are isn't a sort of, it isn't exactly King Arthur, you know. So he seems like a noble guy, the kind of person that, you know, before a duel you'd give them the, like, you know, to be honorable, you'd give them, like, you'd give each other's names, right? So yeah, that might be an interesting partnership then, if the Lancer guy is who, you know, if he is one of those sort of like noble guys, and then you've got like Kenneth, who seems a bit up his own arse, and the kind of, you know, the partnership that's gonna the partnership that they're gonna have. I mean, between the lot of them, the only real, I mean, I don't know, because then there's like Emiya and Saber, but we haven't seen them two really together yet, have we? The only time we saw them actually acknowledge each other was when they were summoned in episode 1, but since then they haven't actually talked to each other, and we haven't seen that yet. So I'm not sure if the similarity thing like corresponds there. But other than that, the only people that seem to be like on the same page completely is Ryunosuke and Bluebeard, right? The other ones don't. So, you know, I'm thinking he's like the dark horse, that fucking Ryunosuke guy, because nobody expects anything from him, right? Because Ryunosuke doesn't know anything about this Holy Grail war at all, right? I mean, Kira said it. He basically said, damn, I was hoping that all of the masters saw it, right? And it kind of like caught him off guard almost. Like, he was like, surely all of the masters would be looking out. Why wasn't this dude doing it? And out of all of them, he's the one that all the other masters know least about. So, I mean, it's a question of what Ryunosuke decides to do. Obviously, he has to be involved in the war somehow. I think possibly what will happen is the caster will tell him about this, and I mean, just judging by the way Ryunosuke is, I mean, he's not going to turn down an opportunity to get the Holy Grail and have his own wish, is he? So, yeah. But yeah, it's you know, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see like the partnerships between the master and servants and whatnot. Yeah, so the betrayal thing was staged so that the other masters would essentially lower the guard, which they have done. Aside from Emiya and Maya, who we've just met, that are too smart in figuring out for, like, you know, it's like, well, oh, hold on a second, this was a bit fucking easy, wasn't it? Just seems like everything was set up. So they're too smart to fall for that. But they kissed? What? What? What about Iri? Like, fuck, damn. You know, in the like these last two episodes, and I'm like, yeah, I think Emiya's just like understood, like, oh, he was forced to be in the position that he's in and whatnot, and like, you know what I mean? I'm like trying to back him up, and then this comes along. How do I back that up? I can't justify that, right? He's cheating on Iri, right? And we've seen Iri, and especially after this episode, like, you feel for her. It's like, fuck, come on, you know what I mean? Fucking Iri specifically said in, like, it was specifically said in episode 1 that she has to die for what's about to happen. So she is living. What are you doing, Emiya? What are you doing? I had him pegged for like, oh, he's got to be, nah, man, he's like, yeah, he's this sort of like, you know, this what's he called, man? A mage hunter, right? And like, I don't know, I guess that's like almost taboo, almost like an assassin. I mean, the way that obviously he has like sniper rifles and stuff, you know, I mean, he's very much more like involved with like traps and things like that, and, you know, going about it. It's more of an assassin way than anything else. You know what I mean? And obviously the connotation with being that kind of person is that you're not a very good person. And I was like, well, that's the thing. That's his character. You know what I mean? He's like, he's pegged to be somebody that is like, you know, he's not a good guy, but in reality he is. But when he's doing stuff like this, I can't back him up for that. I've got to call him out and say, that, what are you fucking doing? You know what I mean? Especially after, like, Iri, you know what I mean? She's so fucking happy to be with this guy and stuff, and she has to die for this cause, and it's like, and he's doing that? Come on. I mean, I guess if anything, right, the silver lining out of this, I'm not even sure if it could be, how could it be classed as a silver lining? It's like, I'm even more, like, rooting for Carrier now. Because before it was like, well, you know, I was thinking like, oh, we're supposed to root for the Ironsburns, and you know, Emiya's that guy, the master who's leading that thing, so they've got to be the protagonist. And I said, like, on the side, and I'm rooting for Carrier. Now it just gives me like more of an incentive. But then again, I'm like, I'm rooting for Iri then. But she's on the same side as Emiya, and Emiya's doing this thing. This is like, it's all inner struggle shit. It's like, it's so fucking mental. We'll deal with it. We'll fucking deal with it. I mean, she said she was kept inside the castle. And she was. It's an interesting word choice, and it could be just the translation from Japanese to English, but she said she was crafted. Crafted. Like, that reminds me of like My Hero, when Endeavor was like, you know, when he's like, oh, like, you know, like that he created Todoroki for a specific purpose, like not for like having the love of a child or, you know, a daughter or son, but no, it's like they were born specifically to meet an end, to do something that it's just, it makes them out to be like a fucking, like not even a human, but just a thing, you know what I mean? That, like a tool to be used. It's thinking of it that way. It's interesting that is what, because that's what Emiya was talking about in episode 1, wasn't it? It's like it's just a tool to be used. And I wonder if that was, I wonder if his dialogue there was said on purpose, because that reflects not only what he was obviously literally talking about in terms of Saber and King Arthur, like, or the servant, right? It's just a tool to be used, but on, you know, but it's also reflecting like Iri and her, like, you know, she was born into this world to be a tool, and it's just sad, man. It's like, oh god. And like, you know, the thing that makes it worse, honestly, with Emiya is that literally like 10 seconds before he's talking about his kid, he's talking about little fucking Eelsjavil. Eel. I can never get these names right. Some of them are right. Eliasville, yeah? She's 8. Or going on 8. So, yeah, I mean, it just makes it worse. It's like, come on. You know what I mean? Pull yourself fucking together. What are you doing? Who is Maya? Who is that? I don't know. I don't know who that is. I don't know if he had like a fucking, like a, I don't know, like an order, like a group. It's just like a, you know, a group of these people that were involved in you know, his activities and whatnot. And that's what I was saying before, like in episode 2, is like, oh yeah, maybe he's like, you know, he was involved in this organization, he was forced to do something, when in reality, I don't know, maybe not. Maybe he was just dragged into it, and, you know, he didn't realize until later on, like, the bad that he was doing or something. And maybe Maya's still keeping him on that, but he can't pull himself away. Maybe there's something with that. We'll see eventually, I'm sure. So yeah, Saber also said that the servants are actually brought in with details of the time that they're actually summoned into, and that, you know, they have specific abilities that can alter their sort of, that they're able to basically, they're able to work in modern times. I mean, if you were to actually bring back King, like, you know, going back in time, bring King Arthur to fucking modern, like, how the fuck would he fit in? The reference points would be so fucking scattered, like, you just wouldn't be able to fit in. So it makes sense that they're brought in with that. And that they've all got like specific abilities. She said that she's able to ride anything, mortal or not, or divine. It's like great. I'm glad, like, Iri, I love it. I love it when they know what they're talking about and they don't just like pass it by, like, because when she was saying it, I was like, they're not going to acknowledge this, are they, as like an actual sexual joke? But then Iri did, and I was like, okay, yeah, nice. She understands. Great. So yeah, awesome. They were talking about Alexander and I were talking about noble phantasms, and those sort of correlate. Those are like, I don't even know if you could call them divine items, or something that relates to the person, the hero, in which they can use in the Holy Grail War. So I'm guessing the carriage, the ox carriage, was one of them. I don't know how many they have access to. I think they mentioned something. I think he mentioned like 3 at some point, didn't he? I don't know if that relates to what, like how many. Oh, they can only have 3 noble phantasms. I don't know. I'm guessing Saber's one of them's got to be like Excalibur, right? And yeah, and then immediately after that, we had the thing that's broken my mind more than anything in this show, and that's the tons of assassins that entered the church. What? The only thing I can correlate that to is that is a noble phantasm. Like, that is the, you know, or that is an ability, like that the assassin specifically has. You know, because it's something just to say like, oh well, yeah, the assassin's, you know, sneaky, I guess. So, you know, it makes sense for the assassin exclusively, to have an ability like that where it sort of works in that, it works with that class. Any other class, it wouldn't have that. So it makes sense. And it makes me wonder exactly how much does Tosaka know. Like, because if they were obviously they staged the thing that happened last episode, right, with Archer and Assassin, but is Kiria keeping this from him? Like, is this a thing where he's like, yeah, there's only one there, mate. but in reality, he's got all of these fucking. I mean, that is a big boost. That is a huge boost, because now it's like, well, yeah, take out one, easy. Try taking out 100 of them. I don't know how many he has. I was confused when the first one showed up and it was like a woman, and I'm like, what? Because previously, and like after episode 2, I was like, well, can he just summon it again? And I was like, yeah, that probably will be the case. And then it's just a case of like, you know, it can only stop being summoned once the master's died, right? And that was my thought process. Not the case though. And I mean, I'm guessing in this assassin group, the main one, the main entity, right? That would have to be killed in order for it to like matter. Because Kiria did say that like, oh, my servant's been killed, and they were saying it throughout the episode. Like, you know, Wave, I was like, oh, the servant's been killed, so it can be killed, and that's it, done. So yeah, I'm guessing it's just a noble phantasm. I mean, I thought noble phantasm like sort of correlates to an item. Alright, so maybe it's an ability then, right? Or, well, I don't know, it could be an item. I mean, there's magic in this show, so it could be an item that's causing it to do this. But yeah, it was that's nuts. So yeah, and also the church is a neutral zone. So yeah, I'm wondering if that would ever come, like, would that stay around forever? Like, I can imagine RuneScape not giving a fuck. Like, fair enough if the rest of them are just like, yeah, we're not doing this in the church, because they have, you know, they all have, you know, at least some standard of, you know, of honor. But then when it comes to RuneScape, it's like, meh, he probably doesn't give a fuck. So yeah, so I'm wondering if that will end up coming into play later. But yeah, that was episode 3. So yeah, again, another great episode, really loving it. So we're going to get into episode 4 and see what we get. So yeah, that is also, thank you everyone for watching. In the description below I have links to certain things. One was the Discord. I urge everyone to go over there, especially if you want me to react to a certain show, because that's where polls and things start. And also if you just want to come and talk to me in the community, you're free to do that as well. And Patreon, I do have a Patreon. If you do want to support me, that'd be very much appreciated. There's a bunch of tiers and rewards depending on how much you want to support me with. There's like, you know, early access for $5 a month, full length for $10, exclusive tier where you can get like access to a bonus show, which is Mob Psycho 100 for $15 a month. So you know, there's a bunch of different things there. If you want me to react to a certain show, that there is, you know, you can become part of a tier where you pay and then you actually get to request a show and I will react to it. So yeah, just go have a look, go see what the crack is, and that was all. So thank you for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.